Welcome back. Now we start the program in earnest, and we're going to be looking at the 2012 budget. We have heard conflicting figures as to how well this budget has done and what percentage of it has been implemented. But what do we know? We have experts in the studio who are going to be telling us how the budget is doing. It's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Galtima Liman, who's a policy analyst, a former friend of the house. Good morning.
Still the friend of the house.
Good to see you again.
It's a pleasure.
And we also have Mr. Wale Oluwo, who's the MD, Investment Banking over at BGL. Good morning.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're still expecting Mr. Biodun Adedikwe, as well as Mr. Taufik Gani. Let me begin with you, Mr. Oluwo. When the president presented the budget, he did say that this budget would be a stepping stone to the transformation of Nigeria. We are in the third quarter of the year now.
Yeah.
What do you think of the president's statement and how we have performed so far? We're more than half, the year is more than half gone.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that statement that the president made?
It's a statement of intention, and nobody can afford that. It's a desirable aspiration to call it a budget of inclusiveness and a budget of growth. It's fine. But what is important now is that, on the one hand, they said the budget started in April. So we can say roughly we have spent 50% of the budget period. But there are two issues here. One, we've had conflicting figures about performance. The House has their own figure, then the executive their own figure. With regards to whether that debate is desirable at this time, I think yes. I think for the first time we are taking interest in our budget performance and all that. And not only that, we are also having the parliament, which probably the minister said because they have constituency projects in the budget, because of that they are very interested in the budget performance. I wish all the projects in the budget are constituency projects. Maybe we'll have this early debate. But with regards to whether it is the relevant debate we should be having now, I'm not sure.
Why would you say that?
And the reason is this. On one hand, we have a budget that is just about 20-something% capital expenditure. Mm-hmm. Even if we implement it 100%, we're not going to get value from it. That is a fact. The second fact is that it is only the federal government that is having this budget of about 70% recurrent and expenditure. All the state budgets that I've analyzed to date, there is none that has less than 60% in capital expenditure, and that is a fact. So my question is this: the debate we should be having in terms of relevance is, how did we get to this point where the federal government is budgeting close to 80% of its money for the current, and how can we come out of it over time? Not whether we implement this one or not. This one will be implemented, but it's not going to have any major effect. That is my first position on this.
Okay. So maybe we should take it to Mr. Galtima Liman and ask you, when we say that it wouldn't impact on our economy, when we say that there's a possibility that this will not make much difference to Nigeria, how do we begin to look at this and say there's any chance for 2013?
Well, at his introductory text, my colleague was talking about the details, the numbers, and until he came to the fundamental issue about the fact that 80% of Nigeria's budget, it's on conspicuous consumption, on recurrent expenditure, on salaries, emoluments, and in addition to that, you have the grand corruption there also going on, as we've also seen. And His Excellency the President, on the other hand, also alluded to the fact that, look, whatever thing it is, I have the security challenges going on, and I'm spending huge amount of money, Nigeria's taxpayers' money, on bullets instead of butter. So that's a fundamental driver. And going back again to what my colleague has said, even if you had implemented 100% of the budget, is totally inadequate to address the humongous challenges, infrastructure challenges, and all that. And he said, and that's the question you were saying, the budgets are nothing but a articulation of what you call the strategic objective of a nation when a government takes place. Jonathan Goodluck comes, or Yar'Adua comes, or Obasanjo comes. The only person who had come close to having a strategic thought, in my own mind, was OBJ, who had Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who had what you call the National Economic Empowerment Development Strategy. And so therefore, he looked at the overall strategy for the nation for his period of time, and then the budget now, it's the tactical implementation year by year. So unless you have a strategic game plan for the nation, where you now look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your challenges, the Boko Haram issues, and all those other things, and said, okay, given this time frame, and I have just about 2 years now to go for another election, what best can I do? And we have not been addressing this issue. I was just driving in right now, and I heard that the Honorable Minister of National Planning, had called in some experts. And these experts, for crying out loud, are London-based experts to tell you about how you can transform the national economy. So it doesn't work out that way.
So maybe, Mr. Oluo, you are an investment analyst. You look at the future of Nigerian economy and you analyze it. And if you look into the future at this point in time, let's start, even before we look into the future, actually, let me rewind one step backward. Before we look at the future, there was some analysis that were made recently by eminent people, including the likes of Soludo, who was former governor of the central bank. He was faulting the figures that were used for the budget and saying if the figures are wrong, the budgeting will be wrong. What's your thought on that?
I read Soludo's comments, and I think he raised a lot of issues, some of them very, very interesting. He raised the issue of growth and the issue of poverty. And he said, look, there is no way we can be having over 7% growth in the last close to 7 years, and that growth is not generating employment, and we are not seeing increase in productivity. And he said, while we were growing, the poverty figures were also going up. These things don't work together. So his conclusion was that one of them must be wrong. It's either the growth figures we are parading is wrong, or the poverty figures we are putting together is wrong. And I think I support his position substantially. We should start from this point. If you look worldwide, before you see economies that are growing at 70% and above,
70%.
7% and above, sorry. I'm not sure you have close to 20 countries. Even China, that has made this miracle happen in their economy, their growth has at average about 13% over the last 10 to 12 years, and now they are coming to around 6 or close to 7. So an economy that can grow at 7 is an economy that is already flying. That is the truth. So we need to go and investigate those parameters that we use in measuring and determining what our growth has been. That is on one hand. Yeah. On the other hand, you are saying we should look into the future. The way I see it is this: within the concept of development economics, it is not strategic for us to look at growth from the center and cascading it down. It should grow from up. It should be bottom up, really. And the reason for this is this: for you to make that bottom up growth, on one hand, you must have devolution of resources. If Abuja is growing and Lagos is growing, Nigeria is not growing. But if you look at some states in Nigeria today, Lagos, Akwa Ibom, to a large extent, Rivers, and a few others, you are going to see a lot of physical infrastructure happening. That is how Nigeria can grow. But you know what has made that to happen? It is the fact that resources are getting to those states. So there's a correlation, positive correlation, between resources and growth, and that has been demonstrated. So if we can actually grow Nigeria from the states, why are we not putting more resources in the states? Why are we concentrating resources in the federal? Because as I speak to you, the federal government controls about 53% of the budget. 53, and there is another ecological fund of about 3% or more. So they are
some of the
56.
people, sorry to break in, some of the people are saying that most of the money will be going to the states rather than the federal government. That currently,
that most of the money should be going.
They are going to the states in terms of federal allocation.
No, I don't.
I was reading something in the papers recently that more money go to the state, and questions should be asked of the state government what they are doing with the money that is coming from federal allocation to them.
No, I think more money is retained at the federal level. That's the fact.
What percentage of our
What
oil
percentage goes to
money
the state? Maybe about 20-something%. While the federal retains about 56,
I would want to
58%.
check that fact because
And then
I
there's the
want
local government portion that is also about 20-something%. It accounts for the balance. But what we are saying is, let our strategy change. And let us also realize that government cannot do anything. No government can develop Nigeria. No president can develop Nigeria. It is Nigerians that can develop Nigeria. So you must just create that environment and devote resources to the people so that Nigeria can develop.
Okay, Mr.
Alhaji
Liman.
Liman,
Okay.
let me take you back a bit to the matter of recurrent and capital expenditure. We go through this every year. Is it that those who are doing this thing are not aware that we can't really survive with recurrent expenditure as high as it always is?
Well, for you to understand the profile of the development economies of developing countries, you must situate what is going on within the realms of the political economy itself and the geopolitics. If you don't do that...
Politics is always there somewhere, isn't it?
Hold on. If you don't, it's quite an interesting thing. You have two models of economic parameter that drives an economy. You have what you call the Washington Consensus, the laissez-faire economy that is being, the staple of the Nigerian economy. That's being driven by what you call the Chicago Consensus, and it's the World Bank, the IMF, and also Nigerians have to realize it's like the Olympic Games. You have other climes that are also interested in your oil and gas, which is the monoproduct economy. And so you need to look at the fact that over 80% of Nigeria's wealth, which is being budgeted, comes from Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, and all this, and every other person is sleeping. And every other person, including the NNPC, it's a sleeping partner. It's not an operating partner. So at the end of the day, the whole economy is relying on just one monoproduct, and that monoproduct, now I've just seen it in some of these, the news flash in the television, that Nigeria is now going to increase oil production to about 4 million barrels of primary crude oil. So it's not adding any value whatsoever to the economy, because it's been found that the primary producing countries, the more they produce, the more they become indebted, because they're not adding any value. So at the end of the day, there is a thought process, like my colleague is saying, well, the citizens themselves need to ask, like you are rightly asking, why is it that we're not getting value? We're not getting value because we're implementing policies that are not development oriented. And so the fundamental is basically this: countries grow by exporting value added products. Because what is budget? Budget is you grow more. With more now resource, like he's saying, and that resource it's handled delicately, without grand corruption, without leakages, with efficiency. Then you have big to invest. Now you're earning about $80 per barrel, and somebody is refining somewhere in USA, somewhere in UK, and is bringing in something close to per barrel, $1,500 per barrel. So the net mismatch makes you a very poor country.
Ouch.
Exactly. So there's no way your budget can impact anything unless you have a reversal. Somebody told me that each time a World Bank or IMF tells you to go left, you say, no, I want to go right.
That's what should happen.
Yeah, it should happen, because you see, they also are young boys who are in private companies, but this time their clients are nations. That's World Bank. World Bank clients are nations.
It's called
This is a bank.
self-preservation.
Exactly.